We ask for guidance from the universal spirit creator, our angels and our spirit guides, to move from soul to subconscious, from subconscious to conscious being, to higher self. We request protected conduit to the realm of the highest good, aligned only to light, so that we may raise our frequencies for the good of all beings, and so that we may step back to see and to be. We do request 100% connection to source and 100% gold cord connection at heart chakra. With thanks, humility, grace, and love, so mo it be. Welcome to the Infinite Dance. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your patience. I took a little hiatus because I usually don't do this, but Mercury was in Gatorade, which I'm calling it that from now on. And it just went forward, I think a week ago. I was having tech problems all over the place. And you guys already know this is not my wheelhouse. So the tech side's so hard for me. So what I decided to do was take a little break during this time. I got some help with some of the snafus in the past episode. So it is recorded as it came through. I got some help, and I'm really looking forward to receiving that help ongoing, so that doesn't happen again. Because it's frustrating when you can't problem solve, troubleshoot, and it just takes so long. So from here on out, I'm just going to step back and let it all happen. So thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate it. We are talking about CERN today. And if you're not familiar with CERN, there's lots of videos out there that go in depth about the physics, the particle physics that it is. And I'm going to go into some of those things that I had explained. I found a gentleman that explained it really, really well. So I am paraphrasing what he had said. Obviously, the science stuff, I'm taking it straight from him. But it came out to be very much like I was experiencing what that is from higher realm, and what it is doing, and why we need to pay attention to it, really pay attention to it. So important. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and take the moment of silence for all those that are oppressed, all those that could use a little extra right now. Congo, Sudan, Iran, Palestine, anybody who is being oppressed, people in the United States, people in Cuba, Venezuela. We could probably name most of the world, right? But we are seeing live streamed atrocities happen to people in those areas. So let's go ahead and just give them any extra we have, hold them in that light, and give them hope. Thank you so much for taking that moment with me. I really, really appreciate that. And I know we're better together, and we can raise up all the energy to help those that need it and ourselves. So thank you again for doing that. So I'm going to wheel back a little bit. Even though I took some time off and it was really hard to not do this because it's such an outlet for me, I am patting myself on the back because that last Mercury in retrograde was in Cancer, which is all about how am I nurturing myself. And some people had to go back and look at like past our past ways that we try to figure everything out and do things and process things. And for me, it was like immediate. I didn't go way, way back. I went back to, tech is not my strong suit. So to save some extra headache, let's just take that off the table and not get upset, because it's upsetting. And when I put something out and it looks or sounds completely different than how I recorded it, and I don't know how to make that not look like that, it's really hard. So anyways, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit, and I hope you were able to give yourself some grace during this time. With whatever's going on in the cosmos, whatever's going on in our world, it's a lot right now. It's a lot. And I know so many are struggling personally with health, with the system, right? Everything is coming up and out, and we're seeing things, and we just don't have any capacity to hold space for something that's going to bring us down, or something that's not aligning with our basic needs. If we need to have health care or our jobs, our money, we're not bowing down to the bad behavior that has gone along with it, right? We're switching. And I really think it has a lot to do with the fact that CERN turned off. So CERN, its original name was in French. The acronym was to a French. So even though it's not, the name doesn't equate up to the acronym now, like exactly, they kept it, but it began in 1954. But the first time it ever turned on, this is crazy, is 2008. So it was an idea back in the 50s, right? And it's located on the border of France and Switzerland in Geneva. And it is the world's largest machine, human-made machine. And it smashes particles together at the speed of light. So with particle physics, and again, I'm not a scientist or a physicist, so I'm trying to understand this. I do understand numbers a little bit. Well, a lot of it I do. I am a kind of a number nerd. But they've been building currently, before it closed or shut down, a new particle that holds the physical world together, right? Kind of freezes it in time. And we'll get into a little bit how they're doing that. And it's been at 13.6. It's called Tera electron field. Now they want to make it to hit 14. Okay. And we're going to get to that too. Now this huge, ginormous machine is 100 meters underground. It's called the Hadron Collider. And it measures, it's a circle, and it measures 27 kilometers in circumference. And it has what's called superconducting dipole magnets, not your average magnet. And there's 1,232 of them in this Hadron Collider, this basically circle, this tube they made. They weigh, each one of those magnets weighs about 35 tons. and it guides beams of protons, okay, to smash the particles. It has to be cooled, though, in order to do this. In order to essentially freeze time, it has to be cold. And they cool it to about 9 degrees Kelvin, which is negative 271 degrees Celsius. So that's like colder than outer space, or what they told us that outer space might be temperature-wise. And why are they doing this? To freeze reality in space. Like, yeah, that's when I was like, what is going on? Why would people do this, right? Why are they trying to make it hit 14? Right? Because we're privy to 12 dimensions. We're privy to a lot of things that are 12, right? In the 12 field. 12 months out of the year, 12 zodiac signs, kind of missing that 13, right? Which encompasses Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is made up of 13 different points where it intersects in all the ways. So 14 is the atomic number of silicon. And silicon is the perfect semiconductor because it processes data flawlessly. And it makes our laptops and things like that, right? So it's already something that's being used. Now, we're made of carbon. Okay, so the machines are made of the silicon, and we're made of carbon, which is six protons, 6 neutrons, and electrons. And as we know, we degrade over time, right? And stress. And our carbon makeup of our physical skin suits is the building block of the 3-dimensional Earth. We have more people running around than souls not in a body, per se, okay? And it anchors us in time. Like that density is anchoring us here. Okay, are you following along? I know this is kind of bizarro. And it's weird to talk about, but also very, as we get into it some more, you're going to understand why it's so important to pay attention to it and have some kind of understanding of what's going on, because it's turned off right now. I think the end of June 29th-ish, and it's going to be turned off until 2030. So just notice if you felt different. I know I sleep more solid since it's turned off. Still not perfect, but oh my gosh, like I'll sleep 6, 7, 8 hours straight. Like I won't wake up in the middle of the night and have to go to the bathroom. I don't toss and turn as much. So that's been amazing. And I'm trying to think back 4 years ago. The last 6 years have been so wild. How I was feeling. Not just 4 years ago, but yeah, like tracking it. It's hard to track exactly, as I've always had a hard time with sleep. But that's just something I've noticed for me. Now let's get into the number 12, right? 12 is the boundary wall of this carbon-based system. Okay, so if it hits the outer edge of this wall or simulation, right, that we're in, and that's a thick wall of physical density that it's coming up against. So it has nowhere to go. So this energy just kind of stays in the same area. So CERN, the scientists at CERN, okay, want to pierce this wall of the 12 dimensions, attempting to enter that 4th dimensional field, right? Okay, so we know when we meditate and get still, we can go to other areas, right? We can go to other dimensions that we can't see with our eyes. And it takes work. It's not like every day's the same with meditating. If you're a meditator, it's sometimes you have these amazing bliss-filled experiences, and other times it's like, you're kind of just thinking about the laundry or thinking about the next thing that's coming, but just giving yourself that stillness. Okay, great, right? And it's really good for us to get still and allow ourselves to just be, and not be productive and having to do all the things all the time. So it's like they're forcing this without all the work. I kind of liken it to, and this is another rabbit hole, and there's been so much that's come up in the last month since I haven't recorded, or 3 weeks. It's like, whoo, whoo, whoo. But when we can take that dense, right, when we get to that 0 point of neutrality in our beings, which is not, again, easy to do. It's hard. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of discipline to allow yourself to drop into that great observer, right? Becoming that great observer of you and the world around you and us. But when we escape the velocity, this is where that dense matter stops being dense and it becomes programmable into light. Okay, so there's that speed of light coming through. And so by doing this, by this big, huge machine that smashes particles together in this super cold environment, they're trying to break past this 12th boundary wall, right? So we're taking those numbers again to get to 14. And I think it's so interesting that they didn't even, why did they just supersede 13? We have to do part 2. There's only so many hours in the day. Holy moly. And it's been a week. It has been a week. Oh my God. And it's just, it's Thursday. But so check this out. So before it was initially turned on in 2008, the scientists went on TV and said it could produce a microscopic black hole, possibly. They went on TV. Holy shit. And could even, and possibly having this huge hadron collider turned on could also possibly swallow the Earth. Trying to think, 2008. I was in southern Colorado. That was when the recession hit. Interesting. The recession hit that year. What other patterns can we put together with all of this? And I was in the middle of owning a restaurant and trying to navigate all of that during a recession. That was rough. I was not paying a lot of attention to a lot of other things at that time. I will put that right up there. So obviously, if some scientists came on the television and said, hey, yeah, so we're turning on this big machine and it could possibly produce a microscopic black hole into wherever and possibly swallow the Earth up whole by, I mean, that's inducing a lot of fear, right? That's inducing a lot of distraction. So, okay, then what is the actual goal, right? We know that the distraction is and the fears are always there to get us to not pay attention to something else that maybe we should be paying attention to. Because the goal wasn't just to instill fear. The goal was to find the God particle. What makes God? What makes a higher being or higher energy frequency? And I know I said I was gonna, I liken this to, and not 100%. So please, if this is something you delve into, I get it. But the not so healthy use of hallucinogens, can really be detrimental. And yeah, it can help out. Absolutely. There's been proof, and I know a lot of people that get a lot of great benefits from it that have been through massive trauma, trauma like war and years of sexual and physical and emotional abuse, right? It can really help these things. But if it's not done in a way that's, studied or healthy or monitored, supervised with somebody who, a shaman or somebody who they know this, they know how it's going to interact with people, right? And what to do if it's not doing something maybe it should. But it's kind of like forcing, like you can't force yourself to a higher frequency, right? There's so many things you can do daily, stopping and breathing changes it right away. I have been practicing my vagus nerve reset a lot. If I'm in a downtime or have a moment, because it takes 2 minutes, where you can kind of just sit and look forward or have your eyes looking forward. Excuse me, have your head looking forward and then have your eyes looking to a different way. And it's working when you start to take that deep breath, yawn, and then I'll go to the other side, right? So things like that can help to reset us. Taking a walk in nature if you can, even just being outside in some sunshine for a couple moments can really help to reset things. But we can't force an enlightenment. We can't force things. And I think we can. At least that's what it seems like, right? So yeah, and so the goal is then to find this God particle. And then in 2012, the Higgs boson, and Higgs is a scientist's name that it was named after. They're calling that the God particle. They did find it. Gives all other particles its mass. And they found if you control the Higgs field, you can control the density of reality. I mean, there was another podcast I was listening to, and she was talking about CERN. And one of the people listening wrote in and said, yeah, I actually used to live down the street. I grew up down the street from it. And in her 20s, she moved away. And she could totally feel the difference. And so I would ask her, I'm like, oh my God, how was that? And how long did it take to feel the effects different. She said it took a good solid year of not living near it. I couldn't imagine living down the street because, something that's constantly putting out frequencies and smashing these particles and the super, that's intense. That just sounds intense. So when density is being controlled, it's controlling what is solid and what is fluid, trying to control, okay, what's solid, what's fluid. And again, why would we want to do that, right? The short answer is it keeps us stuck. So stuck in the rat race, stuck in the poop loop, as I call the karmic poop loops, right? Where you just get stuck in this loop of like, oh my gosh, what's going on in lower level frequencies. Again, behind that 12 wall, okay? Because, and now I'm pulling in, so this isn't from me researching. This is coming in from higher realm. So that 12 wall, the 12, anything that we're going by, our clocks, our calendars, the astrological signs are all human produced. Okay. So it's keeping us in the matrix. Okay. It's keeping us in this matrix in this certain way. Okay. That's really important to know. Because when we give control over to machines, right? Then we surrender our ultimate sovereignty to that machine. And that dictates our reality. Ew. I just think back to all the different times of my life where I've done something and my gut is like, this isn't it. This isn't right. Something feels off, right? But I'm supposed to do this thing. Yeah, it's something that's a norm that is okayed, that we're supposed to follow it. Yeah, I think there's so many. I think it would take a while to sit back and go, oh, that thing, oh, and that experience or that place or right. And these scientists at CERN are doing all of this to mimic what happens naturally in our human bodies, right? So our body, our skin suits, that's the original collider, right? We're the original bridge between the other realm and the physical or the denser realm. And all the things that happen. All the people we meet, all the experiences we have, all the triggers, all the joys. It's like, that's the particles, smashing together, having an interaction that's happening in this natural way, right? Because we're following our gut, we're following our intuition to those different things and experiences that we're meant to have. This opens up a lot of other doors. So if you see me pausing, I'm like, oh, what about that? And that's like another whole podcast that I'm not going into in this episode. So if you see me pausing, my brain is like, wait a minute, hold on. right? Because I think anytime, okay, I just got a hit. Anytime we knew something was off, we stepped out of that matrix moment that everybody else is like, oh, no, 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 do this thing, accept this, whatever it is, that seems unjust or not going to actually be to my highest benefit. So when we do fall into those times of feeling fear or going through traumas or feeling guilty or a little bit of anxiety or a lot of bit of anxiety, that equals a resistance type of energy. Oops, excuse me. Because the flip side of that is if we, like when you're in it, right, it feels awful. You're feeling fear, you're feeling guilty about something, maybe you're having some anxiety, oh, I gotta go do the dentist, right? And you're just having that anxiety. And there's that resistance between our minds and our nervous system. And that creates friction. Okay. And so the lower frequencies feed off that friction. Okay. It's almost like fuel. So even though we feel it, obviously we're going to have to experience it. We need to get past it. We need to go, okay, how do I not stay in this loop? Right? How am I going to step back and go, nope, mm-mm. And let me tell you, I have been having this happen to me a lot. I had it happen today. And there's so much resistance when you set a boundary around something that is either traumatic or could be traumatic, right? Or something that is not sitting right in you. And we know. You guys know I do body work as well as readings and Akashic readings and sound healing. And I always follow my clients' requests, right? I know the human anatomy really well, but they know their body better than anybody. You know your body better than anyone. So even though I understand the lymphatic system and the muscular system and the nervous system and fascia, my client is also going to know what feels good and what doesn't and what they're needing in that moment. So I'm going to follow that, right? And that's the same thing here. When I talked about getting to that 0 point to become that great observer, and so when we get to that 0 point, we get to move past the carbon, the internal resistance vanishes and it becomes more silicon. And that is where the atomic resonance of 14, right? Because that's its number. And this is getting into biological physics too. And I believe where they decided to create, and it's underground, is called a place of pylon. And it was very specific that they chose that. When they first went live with the Hadron Collider, it broke 9 days after. and it stayed closed for a year. So CERN stayed closed for a year at that time. And then it didn't open up, or it didn't open up a year later. But then in 2012, the Higgs boson particle, the God particle, right? The switch that governs weight, they tried to say. But that had already been discovered. That's not anything new. So it's almost like they're like, maybe these people are just super dumb. That's what it feels like. So when it does its particles, the smashing of the particles, the Hadron Collider, it is 40 million collisions per second. That's a lot. And that punctures between our world and the unseen world. In 2026, so before they closed, they were going for a high luminosity, cranked up by about 10 times, doing this open puncture. So instead of having it just be this puncture, right, between this world and the beyond, they were trying to open an actual door, right? So a bigger space. And getting back into numbers, right? The 369 gates. So this is coming from Tesla. 3 is the frequency of creation. 6 is the frequency of physical structure, and 9 is the frequency of returning to source. And so the machine, what it did is it was built to seal the 3 up and then trap the 6 and seal the 9. And as we know, 13's magic number, Metatron's cube, with the electro spin clockwise and the magnetic spin counterclockwise. And that builds all of matter. So 12 then, that we've been living under, is the trap, right? The 12 months, the 12 signs that box you in right as you're born. You know, you're born April 8th, then you're in Aries, and that's who you are. When I got into Akashic readings, I was like, well, that's part of who you are. You know, but it's not all of who you are. Your soul's business is who you are. That's actually who you are. And then we have 12 hours double to make a day, right? So we get this grind in this 24-hour period. So what do we do? Where do we go from here, right? Stay informed, folks. Ask all the questions. Question everything. Vet your resources, where they're coming from, where they're getting their information from. Are they a doctor? Are they a scientist, a longtime researcher, quoting other researchers, right, that are doing the work? That's who I'm being guided to in everything that I am doing. I am on social media a little bit these days, but not a ton. I just feel like it's so distracting and I am not enjoying it. When I do get on, if somebody does have actually a longer written something or other, I usually stop to read it because it slows me down. And I enjoy that slower pace with everything as it is. When I tapped into the Akashic realm and channeled information on the Hadron Collider and CERN, I got, big F no. This is trying to recreate what we already have inside us with a machine, which was funny to listen to Sean Clayton's podcast episode, right? And kind of that's how he was saying too. But before I knew exactly what it was, because I really didn't know a ton, about it, what I was downloading is they're just trying to recreate something that happens naturally. And you have to wonder why we would want to recreate something that happens naturally in a forced way. So again, things to think about, things to talk, things to ask questions about. And I've heard a lot of people say this lately. I think Elizabeth April, Sean Clayton, attention is your currency. So be aware where you're putting your attention, because it's so important. It's so important right now, to keep that attention safe and to keep it held. Because you deserve to have a lot of currency in your being and in those that are around you. And again, when you start to really set boundaries, there will be pushback. There's a lot of pushback, especially those that aren't feeling this or aren't coming to those awakening, stepping more into them. I feel like I've always had a sense of, yeah, no, even being a young kid, preteen, teenager, spending a lot of time in my room because I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? It's weird, and it didn't make sense to me but I didn't know why because I was young, and I didn't have a lot of people to talk to about stuff like this. So it was like, well, where do I even go to talk about it? Before we get into the closing, Sean Clayton, he's Abundance 10,000 on YouTube, and I'm going to link that episode that I listened to get a lot of the sciencey stuff from. Again, not my wheelhouse. Okay, so I needed help. And I really enjoyed the way he broke it down. If you do happen to listen, Sean Clayton, thank you. That was so well said and helped me to understand it a little better. I'm not sure if I did a great job paraphrasing what you said, but I really tried because it felt like it resonated more for me to understand. But a great quote that he said was, start quote, "A silicon cage built to house a carbon slave," end quote, in regards to CERN and the Hadron Collider and the Matrix. I love that. That makes so much sense. Again, I am going to link that episode that I listened to so you can go and listen to it. I really enjoy the way he talks and brings things together. If you would like a reading, I'm available online or in the Reno, Tahoe area. If you are in this area, you're welcome to have a live reading. They always include chakra healings and clearings and sound and frequency. And you can just have a sound or frequency session too, because a lot of times the readings, we get into a lot of different things and it could be a little talk. We could be talking a little bit more, but if you want more of that quiet space, that stillness, having the sound bath, the private sound bath is great for that. And I also have the guideship program. So that is where we get into dimensions and sound and frequency and the archangels and the ascended masters and why we need to know who we're talking to when we're talking to higher realms. It's very important because, again, especially right now, guys, there's so much energy coming through and so much energy coming in that all beings are attracted to light. And if they're struggling and trying to feed because there's more people going like, no, I'm not going down that route anymore. I'm going to choose to go over here where the frequency is better. I like it better. Then they're not going to have the fuel or the food, right? To keep themselves going. So know who you're just talking to, know who is in your realm. If you do feel like you have entities attached, that is something I do. So if you feel like they're attached to your home, your place of business, or your person, we can go ahead and initiate those clearings. And you don't have to be in front of me. This can be done online or over the phone. So if that's something you would like to look into too, anytime we're in a funk or in public or having a little bit of a bad day, maybe you're angry or sad, entities can pick up on that, right? So they're not running programs per se. It's not personal. It's just an alignment of energy and frequency. Okay. And they can hitch a ride. You'll start to maybe dream of somebody that you're like, they don't look like a monster, but you really don't want them like in your car, like you're in your car and you're like, I'm going to lock the door. Or you might feel like you're being watched. Okay. That's another way that you can know that you have entities attached, that could be bothering you. So thank you again so much for all your patience. I really, really appreciate all of you for tuning in. Go ahead and hit that like button and please subscribe if you're not already. That really, really helps me to stay and continue to do these, which I love. And so I really appreciate you all being here. Continue to peel back the layers of your authentic being and continue to ask yourselves and each other, may I have this dance? Blessings and thank you.